Do you feel like your relationship is in a constant tug-of-war? How do you resolve disagreement?
I thought you said we were going to talk about this.
I am talking.
Why is there so much tension?
What tension?
Really? If you want to know how to release your tensions, join Mystical Marriage 2021.
Isn't this better, Kirby? Moving together in perfect unison.
Yeah. How long do you have to do this for?
Forever, Kirby, forever.
Okay.
Hello everyone, welcome to Wow Tuesdays. I'm Ajai Vir Singh. I'm very excited to be here because what I have, I'm really believing it'll change how we look at life, how we do life, and I'm so confident that if it can penetrate your thinking, it'll change how you look at things and how your days go. And it really is that time when we need the word to really be tested and to manifest what we believe in, manifest the Christ that we carry. And the word that we have at WOW does exactly that. And so I'm excited. And I'm hoping and praying that as we finish this message, lives will start getting transformed. Word will really make the difference in our lives. So 2021 to me is a very exciting year. It's exciting from the point that even the word that we were exposed to from the beginning of, say, December 2020 onwards, the word that Kirby gave to us, released to us, it pretty much was proactive, like it was preparing us for the time to move forward. And those words I held very close to my heart, and I realized that there's something powerful. And I realized that as we moved to 2021, things started changing purely because of the words in our lives. So if you remember, it was Sabbath rest, then it was from void to creation, it was alchemizing emotions, then the resurrection message, I loved it. It was the subtle resurrections. That's just the most amazing way of looking at resurrection. Then after that, it was like, the world's not so fluid, the elements coming into play, the meditations that are on Kirby's practical meditation side, everything coming together. It was like the word was preparing us for the world that we were about to encounter. So to me, it's very exciting. And I hope it's for you as well. And I would emphasize again, please look at the practical meditations again and go through it, because in that lies the mystery and the solutions. So, the other thing that I wanted to really bring focus to and bring value to in the message that I have for you is two things. One is, I would say they are the most underrated or most devalued words in Christianity. And a lot of people have asked me those words as well. And I come from a Hindu background, as many people would know. And the only church, in a way, that I've been exposed to for last 10 years is the church we are in now. So that's my only orientation in the word. So it's maybe a little different. So when I look at words, I look at those words a little differently. So a lot of times people ask me, so are you a believer? So when did you become a believer? Are you a believer? And I couldn't understand why they were saying, are you a believer? So I said, like, what do you mean you're a believer? And to me it was like, do you believe in Jesus? So I couldn't understand, because I would say, but everyone believes in Jesus. Your Hindus believe in Jesus, Muslims believe in Jesus, Buddhists believe in Jesus. I feel everyone knows of Jesus. They believe in some form or the other. Some may believe as a historical figure, some may believe him as a mythological figure, some would be actually, a son of God, but everyone believes in Jesus. So what believing were they asking me? Or you have to question yourself, what do they mean by believer? What you believe in Jesus is not good enough, right? Or the other question they would ask me is, so when did you get saved, right? So I couldn't understand, what do you mean, when did you get saved? I don't think I'm saved as yet in the world, because I still have financial issues. So what do you mean saved? And then they would say, No, saved. When did you get saved? So to me, those things were, I still have issues on a daily basis. So I don't think I'm 100% saved from the day, in the day. So those things challenge me. And so the word believing, being saved, right? And how you look at things. To me, those things were like basic things. So we never dwelled much in it, and we kind of, moved on. So today's environment, if you see with what's happening from the lockdown started in 2020 or, early 2020 to even now, the environment needs solutions. The science, as you know, doctors around the world, they're looking for solutions. They're scrambling for solutions. They're desperate for solutions. And I realized that I don't think many spiritual people, I don't think many spiritual people, some may, but not many spiritual people are looking for solutions, because it's so important that there has to be someone who stands up and gives us a solution, think a solution, not just a mere word of hope, because for mere word of hope, there's also Rotary and Leo clubs, they give you hope, right? But what are people with spiritual backing, spiritual understanding, people who really understand what the word means, right? Beyond the basic definition of believer, saved, you have to figure out what else is there. Are we digging deep? Are we digging deep to really test the word? Are we digging deep what we're carrying? Here at WOW, I realize from the time I've been here, even now, the word challenges you, right? It has always equipped me. I personally feel, and I'm sure it's the same for many, that it has equipped us to come out with solutions. And it is so important that now is the time to act and change and use those words, what we carry, as solutions. Well, I was reading a medical journal recently because I was trying to figure out, okay, where does, so like I said, believing in a way challenged me, right? So I woke up and I said, this believing is a strong word. There is something about believing, because in the Bible, if someone asks me, are you a believer? That's one part of it. To Jesus saying in front of Lazarus' tomb, did I not say, if you believe, you'll see the glory? So there's a belief of what I believe and what Jesus believes. So there's a dimension. So I was trying to research this further, and I was thinking, how do people who don't know Jesus look at belief? And I came across a lot of medical journals. The one that I really liked, and if anyone is interested, just send me a message and I'll share that 13-page journal that actually talks about belief and what belief does to a human being. And I realized that, and it says something really amazing. It says that, which I'll elaborate a bit more, that if you have belief or you believe something, and if it gets challenged, it actually makes it stronger. So when you subject your belief to challenge, you end up making your belief stronger, right? Think about it. This is in the medical journal. Yeah. So a lot of times that in a way foxes me that when we believe something, and if our belief gets challenged, we shouldn't be running away from it. We should be standing there a little more, because it's actually getting stronger. Let me give you an example from the medical journal, and let's see if we can bring it back into what I'm trying to say. So there was a group of doctors in a country close to us. They were dealing with a patient who was struggling with a very strong condition of gastro and nausea, so much so that they could not understand how come it starts getting worse and worse and worse, and they're not able to find a solution. There was a young doctor there who thought that maybe this lady is got stuck in a certain pattern that actually aggravates a certain condition. Mind you, a doctor. And he thought of this, that he may look for a most senior person in the country for that discipline of medicine, and invited him and told him to do this experiment, gave him a drug or a medicine, and said, come with us, the group of patients, a group of doctors, and we go to this patient, and you present this medicine to that patient, saying that we have come with a new solution. This is the one that will save you and save you from this thing, and here it is, and we are administering it to you because I'm bringing this good news to you. They give their drug to her, and in 4 hours, her condition returns to normal. In 4 hours. So the doctor who instigated this entire project, so to say, reveals later, I forget the name of the drug that was administered to that patient was actually the drug which was nausea inducing, not reducing. But because it was given from an authoritative figure with a word given to them that this is now the solution, she received it, and even the drug that was nausea inducing got rid of that condition that she was carrying for years. And I realized, so the medical journal was actually making a case for belief, which we are supposed to be believers, right? So they were making a case for belief, and I realized there were 2 important things in there: how it was presented and the presence of an authoritative figure, right? And I realized that that brought me to the next question, that is Jesus authoritative enough in our lives? Think about it. If a doctor in that field was the most authoritative in the city or the country, came and presented that, is Jesus authoritative enough in our lives, influencing our belief system? If he is, think about it, if he is, he should be able to change anything. If a nausea-inducing drug presented completely contrary to a belief by an authoritative figure allows a patient to get rid of her condition, so what can Jesus do if you consider him and believe him to be that authoritative figure? I know currently so many things are going on. I feel Corona to a lot of people is far more authoritative than Jesus, right? And that's where the problem lies. So this was just an introduction of touching science and bringing it back to the word we carry. So to us, the Jesus people, the Christ kind, so to say, we have to see, or we have to look at the day that we live in a new way, and that's what I'm really hoping and praying, that we look at this day in a new way. How do we do that? To us, I'm repeating myself, to us, the Jesus people, the Christ kind, to us, every day is presented to us as a field. Every day is presented to us as a field. It's flat. It's absolutely flat, right? And it waits for us to populate it and to fill it. Think about it. The day is presented to us every day as a field, empty, vacant, right? Waiting for us to populate it and fill it. And we don't realize this because deep down in our consciousness, it hasn't reached a level where we think we can populate a field or fill a field. Also maybe because the last reference point of land or the field not yielding strength to us was time of Genesis, when it was crying out for Abel's blood, right? So we never visited that. But if you look at it again, each day, today for example, is a field waiting for us to fill it and populate it. But we should not forget that the field available to us now is being powered because a single drop of the most powerful blood has fallen on it and it has regained strength to us. But we haven't seen it like that. We don't see it like that. So we have to understand the day is presented to us daily as a field, flat, waiting to be populated. So why is the day important? Day is important because that's where we live our life. That's where the action happens. That's where we try to fix things. That's where we have conversations. That's where we meditate, contemplate, act. So the day is really, really important. And so much so, 9 a.m. to probably 5 or 6 in the evening when you go out is even more, because that's where your productivity, what you're going to get out of it, what will, food, everything happens in that field, right? And that day is so powerful and important because whatever we don't realize it very often that what's happening throughout the day is actually a manifestation of our consciousness. So each day is manifesting our consciousness. It's so important to look at it. And we are supposed to run the day and not other way around. But seems like most of the time the day is running us, right? So running the day is the critical part of if we have to go through anything and have solutions at hand. I'll share a scripture now. Let's go to Ephesians 5:16 and you'll realize what I'm saying, but dwell a little deeper in that for a bit. So 5:16 says, redeeming time because days are evil. Redeeming time because days are evil. We all know the definition of evil, right? It's not what we normally think it is, right? It's a lack of belief. Is holding pride and ego in a hand. So redeeming time because days are evil. And if you dwell further, you will understand and go to number 17. It says, therefore do not be unwise, but understand what the will of the Lord is. So just think about it. What is really the will of the Lord in context to the scripture? He wants to redeem time, right? That's his will at this point. So and he's offering it to you to redeem time. So, and time you're living during the day. So he's actually saying, and he's emphasizing on being conscious, because if you go further, he talks about drunk and don't be unwise. Basically, he's trying to bring to us a little weight on consciousness versus being unconscious through the day. Right? I'm building onto this. Please track with me because I need you to get it, and because I'm so believing that as we finish this, you would have changed things. I'm praying for that. Your day, which is your field, actually is a representation of your heart. So your heart and your heart condition is reflected onto the day. So what you're carrying in your heart is what you're reflecting, manifesting onto the field called the day, because heart is the field where the sower goes and sows. So if you understand what you're carrying in your heart is what you're manifesting in the day. So in your consciousness, whatever you're carrying, you're manifesting, right? And it is so important to understand. And let's look at another scripture to see, this. There are a lot of scriptures where it says out of the abundance of your heart, mouth speaks. But let's look at Proverbs 4:23. That'll help you a bit more to take this forward. Keep your heart with all diligence, for out of it spring the issues of life. So your heart is being represented on the field, which is called the day. So it is so important that we understand this from the context of what we are carrying. So how does it? So look at the dynamics of it. So when you meditate and you close your eyes, and you meditate, even how Kirby has been teaching us for all this while, you actually sow and create in your heart when your eyes are closed. So it's so important. When your eyes are closed, you're creating while meditating and sowing in your heart all the things that you're dealing with. You're sowing it with the word in your heart. And when you open your eyes, you actually reflect the reality onto the day. So when you open the eyes, you actually project it. It's like a project, but you project it like a projector. You project it onto the day. So it is so important that we understand how the eyes, which are eyes, the physical eyes and the mind eyes, picking up from what your heart has, right, and projecting it onto the day. And you pretty much project your reality and walk into it. That's how it is. You project your reality and walk into it. You project your reality. So you pick it from the heart on the field that you have, you project it and you walk into it. It is really important. This was, I was thinking about it, that how do I bring change? How do I bring solution in the day that I live in? And I realized if I start treating it like a field and if I start projecting it, because Kirby has been talking about it for forever probably, but for last 3-4 months even more, that everything is not so defined. You define it by observing. So let's go to another scripture where we talk about the importance of projecting. Let's go to Matthew 6:22. The lamp of the body is the eye. If therefore your eye is good, your whole body will be full of light. But if your eye is bad, your whole body will be full of darkness. If therefore the light that is in you is darkness, how great is that darkness? So I was thinking about it. How great is that darkness? How great is that darkness? Now you see, the days currently, with all the news that comes, the days are shrouded by darkness, especially now with all the news, right? And so what are we taking into our heart, and what are we projecting? Are we projecting darkness? Or are we trying to project light which is influenced by darkness? If that's what's happening, we are saying it. How great is the darkness, right? He's saying it. So it's so important that, on the field we're projecting darkness. So let's talk more about, or dwell more into projecting. How many of us did the cube meditation that Kirby spoke? In the practical meditation side, there was the cube meditation. I loved it. I found it probably a little tough at the beginning, but I started practicing it because, like Kirby always tells me, practice your craft. So I started practicing it. And recently I started dwelling more into practicing it by meditating it with the eyes open and trying to see, if I look at something, can I, with my eyes open, see the cube moving in a different color? Can I see it? Idea was, I was trying to actually work on this scripture, that if my eye is the lamp, right, and my whole body will be full of light, right, and how much light I have. So I said, okay, if I have to fine-tune projecting, means I need to have something projected sharp. How do I focus? So I started doing the cube meditation with my eyes open, and it was tough first because everything was blurred, but I started focusing. I started holding it. For how long could I hold it? And I realized that that's really good, because that will help me hold a certain reality which I believe in, and if I can project it and hold, and I can make it manifest purely by observing it, right? Now, if you don't believe in the spiritual side of it, right, look at the medical journal that I've been referring to again. They said, if you see what you're believing and constantly keep observing it, it will manifest, right? So we should be doing this far more. We should be practicing it because we have the tools to do it. So please, I know it's a little side subject, but I'm saying that please practice the cube meditation, because there is so much in there for us to fine-tune how we project onto the day. We have to focus on that. Projecting is a big deal. Seeing is a big deal, okay? Because you may not realize that you are a manifesting machine. You are a manifesting being. You are a manifesting presence. So might as well plan and manifest what you want to manifest, because to me it is the most important thing that you could look at. Because I was talking to some people recently, and they were saying that I manifest, but most of the time, yeah, I see things manifesting, but I don't think I can correct that, right? So my point was, what are you thinking? What were you thinking? How do you live your life? They said, I don't want to excite myself, so what I do is I think of the worst, and when I get a good thing, I'm well surprised. The other guy said, I fear the worst, and when it doesn't happen, I feel good about it, right? So I realized that the strike rate might not be pretty good if you're going with that approach, right? We need to manifest what we want, what we desire. Let me throw another thing at you. 97 or 95 or 90 or whatever, 80% of the time, you are anyways manifesting. Your whole day is a manifestation of your consciousness, right? Why don't you control it? If we control and we manifest what we're looking for by projecting, we may be able to turn that. You may say, but 70% of the time I try manifesting good things, but bad things happen. So in effect, you're saying that your manifestation of things you don't want is far more high definition than the ones that you want. That means your fear, what you don't want, is far more defined, far more high definition for it to manifest, right? So the things that you don't want to manifest, or you're not, or finding it difficult to manifest, probably they lack definition. That means they're low definition. So out of 100%, if that's the time for a day, you may just get a glimpse of it for 2-3% or 5% in the entire 100% of the day, because it was not well defined, because you did not build it and project it, but your consciousness deep down is manifesting what you already carrying, very well defined. It may not be what you want. So what if we turn that thing around and start expanding on things that you want by rendering it high definition, by manifesting it, get a high definition reality, project it, and then walk into it. So connected to believing is seeing. So the issue is with us seeing, and seeing is a big deal for God, and seeing is a big deal for us. What do we see? What do we see, right? And what we don't realize is, okay, let me share another thing. Once I was early morning in my prayer time, I was dwelling on this thought that, I used to, in Genesis, Joseph, everything that he did prospered. And I said, oh, that's really, really interesting. Everything that he did prospered. And I was meditating as God, I want things to prosper as well. And he kept on bringing this thought to me. He said, everything that you do will prosper. Everything that you will do will prosper. And the first thought that I had early morning in my thinking was a negative thought. But at that point, I kind of held that thought, because I realized even that thought will prosper. Right? So a positive will prosper, so will the negative. So if you do an audit of the thoughts that you're carrying, right, both will prosper. It's an open field. So which one are you is far more deep-rooted, far more defined for it to prosper. So whatever you're carrying, whatever you're seeing will prosper. God has always been very serious about seeing, right? That's why I love Kirby's meditations on so it focus the seeing. Like the Bible is scattered and littered with things of seeing. I mean, Jeremiah 1:11, if you see, it says, he asked Jeremiah, so Jeremiah, what do you see? Right? And Jeremiah saw the branch of the almond tree, and God was pleased with what he saw, right? And he said, okay, I'm pleased with what I saw, I'm pleased with what you saw, and I'm ready to perform it, right? So it's always been about seeing. Seeing is so important because the other prophet in the Old Testament, Elisha, that to me is such a interesting one. He was being threatened. We all know the story. He was being threatened. He could see what was available at his disposal to fight the enemy. His servant couldn't. He prayed to God to open his eyes so he feels encouraged, right? But when the battle started, something interesting he did. He cut off the sight of the enemies so that they couldn't see what was at their disposal. So we need to see what is at our disposal, what we fight with, right? So, and that's why seeing, and it was interesting that Elisha opened the seeing for one and cut the seeing for the other. The other person I really admire from the Old Testament is Jacob. He was so sure of seeing that he even entrusted his sheep to see, conceive, and make him prosper. He was so sure. He had to be 100% sure that he went to his father-in-law and said, give me the ones, take the spotted ones out, take the others off. And you know what he did? He, from the poplar tree, the bark, he made stripes. He was so sure in that field that he had created, he wanted the sheep to see. What they see, they conceive. And if you see Genesis 30:39, you see the last part of this practical aspect, if you look at it, this practical aspect made him prosper. So 30:39 says, so the flocks conceived before the rods, and the flocks brought forth streaked, speckled and spotted. Then it goes on to say 43. He goes on to 43. I'm looking at the end result of seeing, right? End result of seeing was 43. Thus the man became exceedingly prosperous and had large flocks, female, male servants, and it goes on. But what is the starting point of that? He understood the power of seeing, believing, conceiving, and he became prosperous. And it was on a field. Another example of lack of seeing and seeing is when Joash, the king of Israel, when Elisha was on his deathbed, he came to him and he says, shoot the arrow eastward so you can strike Syria. And he said, open the east window, and he opened it. Then Elisha said, shoot, and he shot. And then 18, then he said, take the arrows. So he took them, and he said to the king of Israel, strike the ground. So Joash, not seeing, not perceiving, not visualizing the whole vision, struck the ground. And the man of God was angry with him, said, you should have struck 5 or 6 times. Then you would have struck Syria till you had destroyed it. But now you will strike Syria only 3 times. So what was he seeing that the king was not seeing? At the time, prophets saw, but now with the Spirit available to us, we can see. The day is the field. Continuing in Genesis, right at the beginning, I was trying to picture, obviously at that time, Adam's eyes were not open to the natural world. The eyes were still closed. And how Father, God, would bring animals to him, or beasts of the field, so that he would look at them, judge them, name them. So I was thinking of it. He would have thought of this thing. There could be a lion. He would be carnivorous. He would eat this. He will do this. Maybe he thought that David would need to beat him one day, but it's okay. So he made lion like that, bear like that. Then I'm sure, God got him the elephant, and he looked at the elephant and he would say, I better not make him, carnivorous, because it'll be difficult one to fight. So he made elephant vegetarian, right? Now, if you look at the whole thing, it was the beasts of the field were brought to him, and the word says, and God will see what he would call them. What he would call them. Same thing happens in the day, even today, if you look at it. Situations are presented to us. They're pretty much like the beasts of the field. They in some way, they can challenge you. They may not challenge you. But what would God would see? God would still wants to see, what would you call them? What would you call them? And throughout the day, they are being brought to you. What would they call them? But if you're prepared beforehand and you are seeing what you could call them, you can judge them how you want it. Judgment doesn't need to be negative all the time, though it has a negative connotation. There's a positive side of judging it as well. You can judge them when the situations are presented to you in the day, on the field. You can judge them. So they are presented and they would be exactly how you want it judged. But you got to sit back and see. So their consciousness can manifest it into reality with how you're seeing it. Moving to the day of how we see the day, it kind of bothered me a bit for a while that maybe we don't follow the structure of the day how God presented it. He used to call it evening and morning is day 1, evening and morning day 2, evening morning day 3. But we look at it like day and morning, day and morning. So could it be that when day as per the structure, or the structure of day as per God, when it starts, it's in the evening, when we are not conscious of it and we wake up in the morning, which is our morning, do you think we wake up in the middle of the day? And that's why when we wake up and eyes open and we are out of slumber, sometimes there is fear thoughts, death thoughts. Maybe the half of the day has already passed and then we start planning the day. You think that could be the way we're not seeing the day as a field? So as an exercise, I started practicing from a month ago now. I started practicing and meditating at around 3:34 previous day, as per God's structure, that evening and morning is day 1. So as I sat down and started planning each day, it took me, it takes you an hour, and you plan the entire day that is about to start this evening, but you exactly know it, you judge it, you see it, all the meetings, bring it, definition, emotions, manifesting. A field needs to be populated. The field of, say, 25th May, 26th May, whatever, 20th May, it needs to be filled, because you're anyways manifesting, might as well control it and run it. So you start it by the day before and plan the day ahead, starting from evening as per God's structure, right? And as God said, He said, it's a good day, you judge it right. So maybe, 20th, 19th of May, maybe tomorrow, 19th of May, you could go say, okay, I've seen it already. It's a good day. I judge it righteous. It's a very good day, because you've already filled it with every meeting, with every engagement, with every thought process, with high definition, right? You have to understand that your entire creative power, your mind, your 4 elements that create, that are in you, present in you. So if you bring them together, bring definition, light, definition, breathe over it, look at it, keep watching, and focusing on that day at that time, right? You will walk into it. At least the medical journal believes it. So we should be believing it far more, right? Because we have the real substance, we have the real stuff to manifest into the day, right? So it's so critical that we start doing it now. A lot of times I think how Jesus would have done it. And I realized I found evidence in Jesus doing this in this manner. So when the news was brought to him that Lazarus was dead, what was the first thing he said? He told his disciples, oh, he's sleeping, that I may go and wake him up. Maybe in his seeing it, he'd already seen him sleeping, that he may go and wake him up. Maybe because he was operating as man, maybe in his nervous system, in his own thing, he'd already seen him sleeping, that I may go wake him up. Even when the disciples asked him, and they said, oh, if he's sleeping, he'll wake up. But he said plainly, no, he's dead. But nevertheless, because he was seeing it so differently that when he goes, he'll go and wake him up, right? And what about him walking on water, right? I think in his mind, he was walking on something that water would pretty much be quite concrete-like, so that he will not sink. He had already seen it, so he was projecting it, that he will walk without sinking. He was projecting the reality. He was projecting the reality that he'll walk. And Peter, for a tiny glimpse, saw the reality and started walking, till his definition crumbled and his high definition became low definition and he started sinking. Recently, I saw a post, not recently, probably a month ago, that Kay had put on the Happy Breatharian page, which says that, or probably the WOWLife page, where it said that it was Einstein's quote, that imagination is far more important than knowledge. So if you imagine and in high definition, right, you can pretty much define your world and walk into it. It's just that if we just step back and see how fluid it is, and we start breaking it down and start judging it that it is fluid, let me go and create it. You will start creating it with high definition and manifesting it on the field presented to you, that is the day. So my point is, let's not waste the days. Let's be conscious, especially now when the world needs a solution. Because if you look at everyone around who's being hammered by the news of coronavirus, it is a very low level spirit. If you look at what's happening in parts of India, in the neighborhood, people are perishing just because there is no oxygen. So it's not even a very complicated one. But how the fear and the darkness has overtaken their thought process and that environment that is being created, right? And if we stay engaged in that and not step back and go to Matthew 6:22 and look at the light that we carry, and the light has definition to project with high definition intensity, we would be able to create a day which we walk in on a daily basis. It says, he talks about praying, and this is around the withered fig tree. He says, therefore I say to you, whatever things you ask when you pray, believe that you receive them and you will have them. Just think about it. Believe you receive them. So if I'm looking for a brand new object, I need to believe I've received it. So that believing will change my whole structure in my body, the chemicals and everything, the molecules will change because I've received it. And if I've received it, there'll be a certain behavior and intensity, and the definition I will carry. It's a state of believing that I have received. So it's a state of that I have received it. Believe that you received it and you will have it. So I've received it. So this is a state, I've received it. So can your day be planned that you received it, what you're looking for? Can the day be planned as per receiving what you have planned for? Because that's what Jesus said in 11:24. When you pray and believe that you received it and you will receive it. So can the day ahead be how you want it? But you got to believe you received it. So believing in our definition as followers of Jesus, Christ's kind, is far more powerful than the medical journal, right? So if here Jesus is saying, believe that you receive it and you will have it, right? And in John 11, he says, did I not say that if you believe, you will see the glory of God? So when someone asks me a question, are you a believer? I rather have the person ask me if I believe that scripture, that did I not say to you, if you believe, you will see the glory of God? So that believing and the believing that you received it, right? Look at the dimension of believing that Jesus believes in and what he wants us to believe in. So can we start living day in advance, not waking up in the middle of the day, but day in advance, projecting, believing that we have received it, right? And create high definition manifestation of what we carry in our consciousness, fueled by the word that we sowed in our heart, that we hear at WOW. Thank you.